Hey, sports fans, it's Socialing the Distance, your favorite program. We've got Ben Blankenship, Nike Oregon Track Club, and he's going to survive 40 minutes with us today. Ben, great to see you, man.
Hey, good to see you.
I have enjoyed your racing for a long time. When I first saw you, you reminded me of the Quentin, and you still do, the Quentin Cassidy character in Once a Runner. I'm not sure,
Okay.
and I'm not sure if you're familiar, but
I'm familiar with the book. I have never read it. It has sat on a shelf for decades,
when you
collecting
get a
dust.
couple days, read it. It's got some John Parker when he wrote it. In my era, teams used to memorize it and
Oh,
read it out loud going to track meets. I mean, it was like
that's amazing.
totally cult stuff, and they get some things in there that uh, I don't think they get in other books about running, but it's kind of cool. Check it out. But and then you're coached by Mark Rowland. How long have you been with Nike OTC?
This is basically going on my 10th year, so
Wow.
a while now.
Wow.
It's amazing he tolerates me for this long.
He's I knew him as a steepler, and I got to one night after one of the or before the pre-classic, I got to sit with him and pick his brain a little bit. I believe there may have been some wine involved, and he told me about learning how to hurdle, and I was fascinated because so many of the Brits, their hurdling was terrible. They were just really good runners, and they would get over the stuff. But he actually, 808.
He's a good hurdler.
Yeah, and through a 351 mile.
Yeah.
What is your favorite distance to race?
It's always been the race that I've always taken naturally is the 15th. I don't know why. It's just something that has always come natural to me. I'd probably say my favorite distance is probably a 3K. It's just a good distance for me. Without hurdles. It's just something that I really like. Just a little bit long enough, but not 5K. I feel like the jump between the 15 and the 5 is a whole nother world. And the 3K has always just really fit really well in who I am personality wise.
Mm-hmm. Are you racing this coming weekend at the U.S. Indoors?
I am 3K.
Awesome. Okay,
yeah.
Well, I will see you there.
There you go.
Just got my ticket set up and looking for the proverbial Airbnb.
There you go.
How did you get into running?
I was really lucky that the place I grew up, Stillwater, Minnesota, had a really good running culture. Scott Christensen had built a program over decades. They had been national champs. They had been rated, number one cross country team one year in the nation. And they had a lot of athletes go on to have success, not only at the collegiate level, but also making U.S. cross teams and a few world champs. So it's just a really good, inherently running town. And he put on a lot of stuff with the community. So it's just kind of by chance that my parents lived there, and I took to running pretty easy. It was something, I think anybody who's ever had something that come natural, you want to do it more. And running came really natural to me, and it was something that I was really good at right away. I wasn't good at any other sports. I was pitiful at pretty much anything that involved the ball. But running was just one of those things that was easy for me.
What was your training like in high school?
Minnesota is a weird state where you'd think that like indoors would be big. There's a ton of D3 programs inside Minneapolis, but there wasn't an indoor schedule. It was only outdoor. And, you just recently saw Jessie Diggins, win another medal. She actually came from my high school, and Nordic skiing was a really popular sport. And, winter lasted a long time. So you had this like really condensed track and field program, right? It was like when the snow cleared, you started doing track meets, and state wasn't that far around the corner, so it was really condensed. So we did pretty intense stuff, and we really kind of raced our way into fitness.
Sure, sure. What was the difference for you between high school and college running?
Uh, Besides moving up, I was a guy that was really good at kind of everything, and really, your pond is pretty small, right? I was kind of competitive in the 8. I was pretty competitive at 2 mile. So the big difference was just kind of figuring out what I was going to be good at. And it just kind of happened to be the 15. And really, the big thing was just like getting used to a little bit more volume, and then getting used to getting beat, like showing up to a meet and like getting beat. And that was kind of a crude reality, right? Like my first year in cross country, I was okay, and I say okay, I was like 50th in a race, which is a totally new you know thing for myself to deal with.
Yeah. Who was your coach in college?
Steve Pacentia.
Oh yeah, I remember Steve.
Yeah.
Saw him in Gothenburg in '95 in his marathon there, and got to watch him run the 10 a lot,
Hi.
and
There you go.
really enjoyed his the conversation. So
That's awesome.
good guy.
Yeah.
Talk to me about was it a tight knit team at Minnesota?
I was fortunate enough. There was a lot of guys that wanted to run well, and a lot of people that were really driven to kind of get the best out of themselves. And I was lucky enough that Hassan and I overlapped. Hassan was pretty influential in my running career, um, so I was pretty lucky with like kind of the mesh of guys, and everybody was pretty much from like the Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin.
What makes Midwestern runners special?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's the desire to continue running. I think it takes a special person to want to go out into the cold and run. So I think you have to have desire pretty quick to want to be good, right? Like I spoke quickly about that condensed, season, track and field season, but really it was just a racing season, and all the training took place prior. So it was, you had to be really willing to go out in 10-degree weather and go run, or go run in the snow, or go run in the freezing rain, whatever it had to be, right? It wasn't very pleasant for very long.
When did you know you wanted to explore being a professional runner?
Running has always been this gateway to opportunities for me. I probably, it was really an opportunity to go to college, and really running has given me the opportunity not to get a job, in the, terminal sense of a job. Uh, so it was really just one opportunity to the next. And I've always had the desire to see what I can get out of myself. And really that's where my, drive to continue running every day comes from.
How do you describe your relationship with Mark Rowland?
Uh, I think we're very similar people. Kind of have similar philosophies, and I think a lot of mine have been shaped by him. And he really allows me to kind of do the things I need to do. I'm really good at a lot of stuff, and then I'm really bad at a ton of stuff, and I'm really bad at wanting to show up every day. I would be That's a hard thing for me to do. So he gives me a long leash to kind of go do what I need to do, and then come back. And usually, I've always come back fit and ready to race. So I think he's got a lot of trust. I think it's a trusting relationship.
Do you like working out by yourself?
Yeah, I'm a guy that kind of thrives in his own environment. I'm a guy that I don't have an issue getting my runs in or getting workouts in, and I'm a guy that goes a lot off of effort. I like just kind of turning off and getting work done.
What are your favorite go-to workouts?
I'm a mix and match kind of guy. So I'm really big on volume with quality. Whether that's like some tempo miles with some track sessions or track intervals. I'm a big fan of, pace change. I love hills, and I really like over distance stuff. I know it's just something that I kind of thrive on. When I say over distance, I mean like 10, 12K worth of volume.
Sure. What is a typical mileage week for you during buildup?
I just talked about this, and it's funny enough that I'm really at home running 80 miles a week. I can run more, but 80 miles a week, 75 fits me really well. It's easy. I can sometimes get it done in 6 days. It's just something that feels good. And then I'm not stressed about running more on Sunday or fitting in a double. It fits me.
Do you try to do it in one session a day?
Yeah. I do. I don't double that much, only if I feel like I need to. Um, yeah, I don't double that much and kind of just knock it out.
Long runs, what's a typical long run?
I don't do too many typical long runs. I'm a weird. I used to a long time ago in my career. I used to love going out for like, you know 90 plus 2 hours. I used to love it. And really, probably in the last little bit, I went back to like my roots of just not giving into peer pressure and running 95, 100 minutes. Whatever it might be. So you're giving away all my secrets here. Can't give away too many of my secrets.
Okay, you were on. I think it was on Instagram. I saw
Yeah.
you talk about this, and I really got a kick out of it.
Yeah.
You were talking about kind of going back to your roots, and you were going to race a lot and kind of race yourself into shape. You ran the U.S. cross country, and that looked like I've been on that course. It can be
Wasn't
challenging.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do-
I go for it.
Uh, did you do a couple other cross country races this season?
No, that was it. That was it. I should have done some more due diligence and talked to somebody who had run the course prior. When people were like, "Oh, it's in California, it's in San Diego," I thought it was like trim grass. It's going to be like a 2K loop. It'll be a blast. And then when I got there, I was like, "Oh God, maybe this was a terrible choice." It was just a tough course, especially for the type of runner I am. I'm not that athletic. I don't have that much, let's say, flexibility in my feet or in my ankles. So when we had to like jump over curbs or go through some sand or run on all these hills, it was just a really tough course for who I am. And in saying that, it was an absolute blast. I learned a lot about myself. It was fun to go through the motions of doing something that didn't come with all the pressure like a 15 or going into a track. And then, a week later, I went up to the Dempsey, had a good day back on the track. And I was supposed to race again, but then obviously I got COVID. So here I am, a couple days away from US champ.
How are you feeling now?
Good. Yeah. I feel, I got COVID last week. It took I think I took 2 days off. But other than that, I felt fine.
Um, Talk to me about experience it being in an Olympic trials. To me, it seems like I've been to every trial since 80. I've watched everyone since 72. Okay. Um, I've watched some of the great ones. People said they were going to make it and they didn't. And I watched surprises. It's fascinating to see both. I feel terrible for people that, I've written about or care about who don't make a team.
Yeah.
Is that the toughest experience you've had competing in terms of mental challenges or physical challenges?
The last one was tough. The last one, it was tough. I think 16 wasn't as tough. It was tough in the sense that like Leo could have a really good day. And that could mean that I'm not on the team. But in terms of probably not the toughest, I think when you get there and you feel good and you have confidence in your training, it's just like any other race. It's let's execute our plan. Let's accomplish whatever distance we're after well. And I felt like in 16, it was going to go the way it was going to go. But I was able to put what I needed out there. if that makes sense.
No, it does. Talk to us about the Olympic experience.
I had a little different experience. I ended up not staying in the village. I stayed in kind of an Airbnb of sorts on the beach, which was super nice. And then I was really only there during the competition window, like a couple days out, and then the next day we got out of there. Track and field's weird. You get to the, what you would define as the pinnacle of the sport, and then 2 weeks later you have the Diamond League final. It's a different sport, right or wrong. It was just another really checkbox, and I say that having been there. But I felt like in the moment it was like, okay, we'll run well, get through the rounds, and see what happens. I think the hardest round was the morning. Very few races ever happen at 9 a.m. And then I was in the last heat, and I looked up. Somebody had said like, okay, the qualifying window is like 3:42. I've never run a harder 3:41 in my entire life. I was like, oh, 3:41 will be really easy. Yeah. And it was the hardest 3:41 I've ever run in my life. So, and then it got easier after that.
The tactical races, when, and I've watched championships where the 1500 is screamingly fast, that last, 800. And then sometimes it comes down to the last 200 and you're going, what the hell is going on? Is there a voice inside you telling you to make a move? Or are you trying to stick with your plan?
I think I'd like to say those tactical races are gone for good. I think we're in a new timeline. I look at my career as a whole and say, we ran a 350-ish, Olympic final, and now we've run 328, right? And the times have changed. I think there's something really cool about those slow tactics, that it requires insane amount of patience, right? Everything you want to do is, I just want to run faster. It's uncomfortable to run so slow, but there's also kind of a thrill to it, to see kind of who's going to make the first mistake, and whatever those mistakes are, you can kind of see, and you can see them really clearly. And I think when the race gets faster, it comes down to who's going to be in the best shape, right? There might be a little bit of tactics and who decides, but it's really going to come down to who's in the best shape, versus those really tactical races.
Sure. Did you ever do the steeple?
No, I can't. Large stairs give me trouble. No, I'm not athletic enough. It's just never something like I mentioned about cross country. I don't have that dynamic ability to move. I don't move very well, especially when I'm running. If I stop running, I move better. But as soon as I start running, I become super stiff, which is very helpful. It's just not helpful for jumping or turning or doing anything dynamic.
A lot of runners go to the roads. Are we going to see you go to the roads?
Oh, I'm sure. I want to keep running as long as I can. My resume right now won't have much to say. So I'll be a thorn in people's sides for a long time.
What do you love about running?
It doesn't require anything, and super simple, right? You just kind of like pull on your shoes and go get as much as you want out of yourself, and that's something really easy for me to do. I can suffer with a group of people, and I can suffer by myself, and both is super fun. So I really like that element, and really, like I said, it was something that I was really good at from kind of the beginning of my career. And so I'm kind of stuck with it.
Do you like racing in Europe?
Not as much as I like racing at home. And I am extremely excited about these new opportunities.
Yeah. Talk to me about, you've raced. Have you raced at the new facility in Spokane at the podium?
Not yet, but I hear it's, top class.
Yeah, that's all I'm hearing is good things about it too.
Yeah.
Talk to me about you did the World Relays, I believe. Was that 2014?
I think
15?
15,
15?
yeah.
What did you think about that concept?
It was really cool. Yeah. I mean, it's new opportunities. You know, DMRs don't often get set up. They're tough to put together. I love the concept of making a ton of money. That always hurts my ears. So I think anytime you can get new opportunities, new challenges, and provide a platform for athletes to get paid, it's always exciting.
What's your PB for the mile?
I 52, 50, somewhere in there. Yeah, 50 something.
Do you think you can continue to improve on that?
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. I think now with opportunities to run faster and races getting faster, I think, you know, is it the barrier used to be 4 minutes. And I remember very clearly that when you broke 4 minutes, you were a really good athlete. It was okay, now what are you gonna do next? And now I think that barrier is 350. I think you break 350, now what are you gonna do next? And I think as we see changes in the evolution of sport, new barriers become very clear. And I think the last few weekends has shown that. So, you know, at one point you had to be a really tactically savvy racer, and now you have to be a really fast, tactically savvy racer. So there's different timelines.
Do you like racing the 800?
No.
Okay. That's honest. That's honest.
No, I don't come from that distance. I got away with it in high school because the pond was small. And then once I got to college, it was very clear that that was never going to work out. It's something that, like, I think if I would have stuck with and shown a little resilience, I probably could have got better. I think I closed 15s faster than my open PR is. And it's something that probably earlier in my career, when I probably first left college, I should have worked on. It was just something that didn't excite me. And I'm a guy that wants to write down something that excites me. Like, put that pin and say, that's what I'm pulling on my shoes for. That's what's exciting me. The 800 just never was going to be it.
Does Mark have you run the 800 at all?
No, he'd never do that.
All right. I was just curious if he just wanted, in messing with you a little bit, he would say, okay, that's good to hear. What's the key to running a great 1500?
I don't know. That's a tough one. Key to running a good 15, I think it's just getting through the meat of it, right? You're gonna get out, and I think the secret is, as soon as you feel like there's a relief or a settle, you're doing it wrong. And as soon as that, like, relief where you're like, oh man, that felt pretty good for a second, you're too slow. So a good 15 really is it just hurts the whole way. It just sucks the whole way.
I'm going to throw some names of athletes, and you're allowed 5 words to describe them.
Oh man.
Okay.
All right.
First is Hassan Mead.
I mean, he's 5 words.
You can use a phrase too. It's.
Yeah, I think he's kind of a top class athlete.
Yeah, I think so too. Matt Centrowitz Jr.
Talented. I mean, he won gold medal at the Olympics, right? Extremely talented.
Nick Willis.
Consistent.
Cole Hawker.
I don't know enough. Both, and that's how I describe him. I don't know enough. I haven't seen him race. I haven't been in a race with him. I haven't seen enough. I need to.
Jakob Ingebrigtsen.
I don't know. He's one that slowly moved. Not very many athletes have moved outside of the running community, and he seems to have. If that makes sense.
Josh Kerr.
Uh, I give it up to Josh because I think he was one of the first athletes that showed you can run really fast on U.S. soil. That it didn't require a diamond league, it didn't require going to Europe. It just required the mentality. I'm going to show up and run fast. And the track and the setting doesn't matter as much as mentality.
Chris O'Hare.
Oh man, he used to be a good friend, and now I'm gonna miss him. I'm gonna miss him on start line.
Yeah. Who's an athlete you think that is really underrated?
Oh, I mean, there's tons. There's tons of athletes. I don't know. I'd have to think if I had to put one name to it. Super underrated. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to think about that one. I should have a better answer.
That's
Tough not
okay.
to answer.
That's okay. You've done very, very well. If you weren't going to be a miler,
Yeah.
what event would you do in track and field?
Realistically, I would have probably, if it wasn't going to be on the track, and I think instantly it was the mile. I think I would have moved to the roads. And I think early in my career, there was a little bit of a stigma that once you go to the roads, it's really hard to come back onto the track. So I would have probably gone to the roads, mostly for the money. Like, as much as I'm driven by like PRs and I'm driven for success, I'm also really driven to like make a livelihood.
That's a nice concept. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And the roads give that opportunity.
Do you do much core work?
I do some, yeah. I'm a little bit more, unorthodox, but yeah.
Okay. As one advances in years as a I will call you a veteran middle distance runner, what's the key to staying healthy and to staying fit and to staying motivated?
I think it's be a student. And that's really what I've learned kind of during COVID is it's really going back. It's easy to get pushed in to new concepts of doing more and wanting to constantly push the envelope of what you've achieved. And I think for me, in the last probably 6 to 8 months, it's really been a student of going back through these archives that I've kind of created for myself and really pinpointing time periods that worked really well. When was I having the most success? What sessions really worked? And what was the broad strokes of that kind of training? So it's been kind of sitting down and just going through this, archive and saying, okay, if this stuff worked, then why won't it work now? So for me, it's kind of about being a student, learning as you go, and being able to create some concepts that, are going to work for you. I always take the model of, different courses for different horses.
Sure. Do you want to be a coach?
I haven't thought that far ahead. Right now I'm doing this running, and maybe that opportunity presents itself. I'm not sure yet. So,
is there anything inspirational that Mark says to you before races?
Mark and I, he knows that we always have good conversations, and they're always completely unrelated to running. And that's, and I've really valued that it doesn't matter if we're at the, biggest event of the year or we're sitting down at South Eugene, it's always a good conversation. And I've always valued that. This is just running. It's the same that it was anywhere else. Nothing really changes.
Is Mark your coach, your advisor, or your coach advisor?
Coach advisor. I think it morphs as the season goes on. There's a lot of times that I can go a long period of time without much communication. And there's a lot of times that I want to be able to set up some sessions, but it's really when we start getting into, let's say, the summer where don't necessarily want to think about what I have to do. I don't want to have to make those decisions about what I need. And I think we have a really good balance that way. I do the easy stuff. He does the hard stuff.
Okay, I'm going to throw this out at you. So it's the middle of summer. You are really fit. And again, you want him to kind of tell you what to do. So he comes and he says, you're going to do 2 sets of 400s. Here's the break. Here's what I want. You get into that second set and he looks at you and he said, you're not going to do 4. You're going to do 2. Does that kind of a thing happen? Do you give him, or do you need to finish the session, or will you kind of, if Mark goes, hey, cool it today, how do you deal with that?
I'm super flexible. I've gotten stuck into that mentality of what's written you got to do. I've been stuck into that. I'm pretty casual when it comes to sessions. I'm pretty like, you got the work in, let's be done. When the getting's good, get out. And I'm also a guy that wants to bite off a lot. But I'm pretty cavalier about that stuff. Like, hey, if this gone really well and we don't feel like we need more, then we don't need more.
How's your fitness level right now?
One of my biggest goals coming out of the trials was to put together a consistent training plan. Get running every day, get good volumes of sessions in, and really get back to, hey, we've got this really good foundation. And truthfully, it's been a little while. It felt like this summer dragged on. Like from when I got hurt to the trials, like it was 2 years long. So it was really, let's just get back to running. Let's get back to fundamentals, and let's get back to like enjoying this. So really my goal, and something that I feel like I have achieved kind of right now at the end of Feb, was like, will we have a good training block behind us? And can we use that training block going into the, spring and summer? And really all roads kind of lead to Eugene. So I felt like the best thing for me to do is just get in good shape. Let's use that fitness and then carry it into the summer.
Are we ever going to see you do 25 laps on the track?
We'll see. I love opportunities. I want, one of the biggest things that I've always said in my career, I want to be a super versatile athlete. During 2020, that opportunity arose and I ran 28:08 or something for 10K. And that was a really fun experience. I really enjoyed it. It was one that I felt like, hey, maybe there's an opportunity here. So we'll see. Maybe there might be some opportunities. We'll see.
If you were going to describe running the 10,000 to a fellow miler who hadn't done it, how would you describe it?
There's a deep enjoyment, I think, that you don't get in the 15. There's never a point in the 15 where it's where you're actually alone. The 15, it's all about how are you positioned, how are you moving, how is everybody else moving. And in my one very small opportunity in the 10, it was a few lonely laps where it's like you're just kind of with yourself, fighting yourself to just kind of keep moving. It's kind of like, okay, got to find something where I can shut off for a while. And the 15 doesn't allow you to shut off.
You've run a few of the Sound running events, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm a big fan.
Good. I wanted to ask you about that. I call them bespoke events, kind of really tailored. And I think Jesse's really got something going there. What makes them special?
It's opportunities. It's truly, it comes down to opportunities. I think they're special in the sense that we're finally bringing track and field back to the States. We're giving local domestic opportunities to athletes. And that, I think, speaks volumes to what we can accomplish in the future. And it's tough that COVID kind of created this like perfect storm in the sense that you couldn't travel and athletes needed the opportunity. So I'm a huge fan of all of these meets that are getting put on. I want to support them. I want to be part of them. And I think it's such a new opportunity. It's a new frontier for track and field. Keep track and field here in the state.
Do you think that, how big do you think the world champs in Eugene will be? Do you think Americans will appreciate the uniqueness of the event?
I hope so. I surely hope so. And I know that it'll resonate within the community that already exists. And my hope is that it inspires young generations of new runners. And it hopefully it provides more opportunities again. And I do think that it's an opportunity for the states to say, hey, we're invested, especially if we're going to call ourselves the number one track team in the world. I think it's such a great opportunity.
Is there an event that you have not raced at that you would like to race at?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have a lot of lofty ideas and some big goals, but they're all in the future. I feel like, besides a world outdoor final, those are right now the ones that are kind of in my quick vicinity, right?
Cool. You feel, the impression that I get is you feel that your best running is still in front of you. Is that correct?
Cool. Of course. As long as I got 2 feet, I still think my best running's ahead. And I think it just really depends, right? Like I can imagine a time in my life that maybe there's an opportunity to run, 100-mile race or something. And that could be my best running. You just never know, right? And that's what's so exciting about the sport. There's opportunities everywhere.
That's cool. Ben, thank you very much. You survived
No
40
problem.
minutes with me, man. And I really appreciate it. I will say hi to you after your race this coming weekend. Best wishes to the 3000.
Appreciate it.
This is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. This is Socialing the Distance. We featured Ben Blankenship, a member of the Nike Oregon Track Club. He's going to be competing the 3000 at the U.S. Indoor Champs. Ben, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder, RunBlogRun. This is Socialing the Distance, and this is the epilogue. Today we spoke with Ben Blankenship. He is a 2016 Olympian. For the last decade, he's been a member of the Nike Oregon Track Club. He's coached by Mark Rowland. Before that, Steve Placentia at the University of Minnesota. And before that, Stillwater High School with Scott Christensen in Stillwater, Minnesota. I've always enjoyed Ben. I've watched him race for most of his career. I think he is a gutty runner. I think he shows heroics in his running. And I think he loves running. And he's enthusiastic about it. I think that's really key in having a long and healthy career. I think the mental attitude is so important. And one of the things I see in interviewing, the top men and women in our sport is that a couple of things with athletes that are successful. They have a drive. They have a need to succeed, but they also have found something they love. And Ben's very straightforward about that. And it's a lot of fun. Check him out on Instagram. He has some pretty deep thoughts there. And he's been talking about doing it old school. And what he means by that is he went back to his training logs and he looked over everything and figured out what worked and what didn't work and tried to figure out why it's not working now. He has a very coach-advisor relationship with Mark Rowland, who is an 808 steepler and also a 351 miler. So the guy's got some versatility there. It sounds like a fascinating relationship. I'd love to be a fly on the wall and just hear them chat because Ben says they talk about all kinds of things besides running, which I think is kind of cool. I remember with some of my training partners in college, and we were, working out 2 hours a day, doubles, and we talked about everything but running. And I understand that's what Mo and Galen Rupp used to do is when they were training together, is they were talking about football and all kinds of things. You find stuff that keeps it fun. You find things that keep it relaxed. And I think that's important. Ben seems to like to train by himself a lot. So there's that inner drive. And, having been around in the sport for a while, he's got that kind of control. He was injured around the trials, but he's now been able to build back. He had a really strong cross country performance, and then he ran it very well in the 3,000 up at University of Washington. And he will be in Spokane this weekend at the USA Indoors, and that should be a lot of fun. But thank you again for Ben. I've been wanting to talk with him for a while. Lived up to expectations. I did tell him he reminds me of the Quentin Cassidy character in Once a Runner. And those who have read that book will understand that. But if not, it's Once a Runner by John Parker. It is a cult classic, up there with The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner. Those are the two books as runners I think you need to read. Also, A Clean Pair of Heels, Murray Hallberg as well. But I've digressed, as usual. Special thanks to Mike Deering. He is our production manager, and he manages this, and this is a late one for him. Thank you to his dear fiance, Elsie, for putting up with all this, too. And thank you for Ben Blankenship for taking the time today. Thank you to our dear readers and viewers who watch this. Please pass it on to other folks so we can buy a little more Taco Bell and Pete's Coffee. Okay, stay safe and get your workout in. Talk to you soon.